Good morning, everybody. It's 8:50, the 5th of May, 2025, and it's kind of chilly. We're supposed to have some really cold weather very soon. In the next days, it's supposed to be hitting into the minuses. But I've got a lot of really shocking information to tell you guys this morning. And, some of my own analyses, and a lot of that matches a lot of other people's analysis I'm finding out, including some of these experts and high officials in the Russian government and the United States CIA people. So, I should get right into it. It's actually quite a bit. And first I should mention, I have this huge problem with YouTube, and I don't quite understand what the heck is going on. And I don't know if it's YouTube. I don't know if it's partly YouTube. I don't know if it's partly this country or wherever that's what's going on. But sometimes you get some fast uploads, and sometimes it's like 12 hours to upload a 1 hour video or even longer. Like yesterday, it took the entire day and to try to upload a video I did early in the morning, and it stopped it. The YouTube stopped it and started over again. Apparently, like I said, I don't know if that has anything to do with this country. And then I had to stop it because after hours it's only like a certain percentage upload, and then I went into town and tried to find a place more in the center of town thinking it's going to upload faster, and maybe it didn't help. So I started uploading again at like 2 in the afternoon, and at sometime after I went to bed, maybe at midnight or so, is when it actually was uploaded. They said, I just looked just now and it said 8 hours ago. So what time is it now? 8 in the morning? Yeah, it was about midnight. It looks like at midnight. Started 2 in the afternoon. In other words, it took 10 hours or 10 hours to upload a 1 hour video. So I don't know what this is going to be like right now, but it was really harmful back when I was doing the Russian classes because I can't use my phone. It's all occupied, and it sucks a lot of battery uploading videos. I just don't understand it. It's very, very strange stuff. So anyway, having said that, let's get into some of the news. What's going on now, today, or at least yesterday, or whenever. Some of it's actually a couple days old because I had saved these stories, but they're very significant. Oh, you hear the church bells from the church over here. I got off on the metro stop Nyamiga, this area that I'm going to be showing you. This is the main area. I see there's maybe 2 streets and some little side street sort of areas. It's where there's a casino on the other side. Well, you can see it. I'll show it to you when I get over there. And this is where the gold diggers all go. It's a big, big party place, especially at nighttime, filled with all kinds of people. It was during the COVID time, too. A lot of people coming from a lot of places because there was no masks and 6 feet distancing, and nothing was closed. And it was a big place in COVID, too, because they didn't go with all of the nonsense that everybody else was forced, including myself, forced to go with, and lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. So I'll just show this area to you. There's other people that have made videos here, like at nighttime, and lots of people on the streets, and ladies and all that. And beer is like expensive. It used to be like a long time ago, and prices have actually gone up. It was like 15 rubles for a beer, and at that time you could go to other places and it was like averaging 3 rubles a beer. Now things are getting more expensive anyway, and that's like 4.50. Price has gone up quite a bit lately in Belarus. Just in the past month, there used to be a subway ticket was 51 rubles, and then in the past month it went up to 54, and now it's 57 rubles. So this probably has a lot to do with old Donald Trump's tariffs and things like that. Currencies sliding all over the place. So everybody is paying, I guess, for Donald Trump's tariff fund. Anyhow, like I said, I'm just showing. I'm coming here in the morning, so nobody's here. On purpose, because there's probably music playing in a lot of these places, and YouTube, I'm believing they wouldn't stand for it. If they can't make money from the music playing somewhere, then you're in violation of copyrights and things like that. So anyway, let's get going here. Probably also a little bit too early. It's a little too cold. I don't think anything's going to be happening anyway in the afternoon or anything here. So I don't know. It's weird. We had 27 degrees Fahrenheit weather, going out in t-shirts. You're even hot in the t-shirts, and now I don't know. It's going to be like it is in Germany, where you sometimes you wear a winter coat in June. You know, we just started May. I'm sure that we should be having some hot weather when June comes around, though. So let's get into the news here. As you all know, there was a hypersonic missile that got through Israeli defenses and hit the airport. I think a few people got killed. So the death toll caused by Yemen right now might have already gone into the double digits. So maybe it's 11 people in all these months that they've killed. And of course, if you're looking at, I don't know if Israel has necessarily really attacked Yemen yet. You know, Israel attacks their own people, or at least the people there, and trying to like ethnically cleanse wherever the Palestinians are. You know, it's for Eretz Israel, Greater Israel. They're trying to expand the size of Israel. As you all know, there's that Eretz Israel. You can see maps how, you know, they said God gave us Syria, God gave us Lebanon, God gave us all of this, God, this, and they think it's all theirs, and you know, God's a real estate agent, I guess. I don't know, I haven't seen the contract. I was looking for that. Where's the contract? Where did God sign there and said that you get all that land? You know, that's minor things right there. Don't even consider that. That's you know, pay no attention to the small writing. Okay, so anyway, Netanyahu has promised that they're actually going to physically go after Yemen, instead of getting the United States, you know, to bomb the place to smithereens. And they do. There's every night, and you can see little videos all the time. I don't know if they kill people every night. Sometimes they kill a lot of people, the United States. And of course, it's not mentioned because Donald Trump hates the killing, you know, even though he's doing quite a bit. I don't know what numbers. I think it's at least up to 300 now that he's killed in Yemen. And like that one strike, I think it was 70. I don't know if more people. It was a very strange bombing, and it was like an African migrant center. Oh no, some music. So let me get a little bit further over this way. Anyway, but I had heard 70, and there was 46 wounded. Normally, when you have these bombings, as you guys that follow the news always see, that's normally like 1/3 are dead, and there's 2/3 at least are wounded, sometimes even more. And this time it was weird because there's twice as many dead as there was wounded. And I guess some people are saying that like it's a type of bomb the United States used, and I guess the temperature is like 3,500 degrees. So these people, they were for the most part kind of disintegrated, you know, when these bombs, you know, hitting these African migrants, these innocent African migrants, of course. And okay, but anyway, Iran is planning retaliation. He said it's going to be many strikes. So they're going to be going after Yemen, maybe like they go after all these other countries. And you know, they bombed Syria. Was it just not last night? It was the night before, and they killed quite a few people, and lots of bombs, lots of bombing. They said it to protect Israel, even though Assad, or even this new radical Islamist guy, said he wants to be friends with Israel, so he's never bombed Israel, never threatened Israel. Assad never attacked Israel, but yet Netanyahu did that to protect Israel. So, you know, it shows their mentality there. And of course, they've taken over a huge swath of Syria, somewhat close to Damascus. They've taken the entirety of the Golan Heights, and you know that what that was all about. And there's a big minerals there, but he's already there's a contract signed with Genie Petroleum for you know, which includes Dick Cheney and I think Rupert Murdoch, if he's still alive. So what they're doing is they're supposed to be I don't know how much Israel gets, but a lot of that you know, is supposed to be the contracts. And soon they even announced it right away after the fall of Syria that they're going to be now planning the pipeline that goes through Syria. That is one of the major reasons why that war started, is because the Golan Heights has a huge amount of natural gas, and they're going to be sending the natural gas from there, from the Golan Heights through Syria. Assad didn't like that because first they steal Syria's, you know, that belongs to Syria, which is the Golan Heights. They stole that, and then they want to steal the gas out of that, and then they want to ship it through Syria and get his consent. It's like saying, okay, I consent that you stole our land and you're stealing our resources, and that's fine. So Assad wouldn't do that, and that's one main reason why the war started in Syria. And of course, Russia helped. Russia, well, the gas was supposed to go through Syria, then through Turkey, and that's why Turkey was also involved with the United States at the beginning of the war, and a lot of that oil that they were stealing from Syria, even though it's not too much, that was going through Turkey. And then I guess at one certain point, lots of Russian tourists go to Turkey, and they stopped doing that, and it was so harmful for the economy for Turkey. After Turkey shot down one of Russia's Sukhoi fighter jets and was bragging, and they were celebrating it, and tourists stopped going there, and it was really harming their economy. So Erdogan, went to Putin, and anyway, that kind of resumed a kind of a friendship there. It's a lot of big. You remember all that stuff back in the Syrian war, so I shouldn't be going into these tangents like this. Just trying to give you guys background information about a lot of this stuff. So they said they're going to retaliate against Iran. So whatever Yemen does, Iran did it. It's always the case. I don't know if they have any proof. They just maybe assume that the Houthi are that much involved with Iran, even though they are definitely, maybe, I don't know what the word is, ideologically, or they're friends with Iran and Yemen. This looks like it's a new place going up. I don't think there was one here. So there's probably, you can probably open up all these windows, what I'm showing you right now. And Lidskaya, somebody made a comment, they were in Grodno. He's another guy here, shows a lot of pretty girls. I forgot the name of the site again. I mentioned him yesterday in the video. But anyway, he was drinking, I guess, I think it was a Lidskaya from that area, in Grodno. And here the beer is Alivaria. There's that beer over there in Minsk. And that one is from Western Minsk. These are the two main big beers. This is the casino that I was telling you guys about. Princess Casino. And I kind of think that one reason why, when you see all of these places, this party zone here area, and it's a lot of the gold diggers, they hang out here, these women, and they have a lot of money. And I think they get maybe sometimes the rich Arabs, the rich Russians and all that. They go to that casino over there, very close here, and they probably come here to party, and they meet these gold digger women, with their nice sunglasses and their beautiful hair and their dresses and all that sort of stuff. And, pay huge amounts of money for beer and all that, if they drink beer. And there's a lot of people saying that, like some of the Arabs from the Arab areas, Bahrain and all that, and they get to know these girls, and they pay their way down to those countries. They go for a weekend, and bunky, and have their fun there, and then they fly the girls back here, and for that they may pay them, I don't know, $5,000 for a visit. So it's enough for them to live very, very nicely in Belarus until they are summoned again. They jump on an airplane and go down there, bunky, and come back, and and they're doing that pretty good. And who knows, maybe they know a whole bunch of them. Maybe they have some clients, and it's terrible. These women should know that that's kind of like prostitution, I would say, high-class prostitution, I would think. So, and in any case, they're gold diggers. So, anyway, makes you wonder. Look at this big animal up there, sitting up on there. So here you have a Tesla. Looking for a Democrat to come and scratch it up? Yeah, where's a Democrat? Anyway, so what is this thing up here? But anyway, we're so poor here in Belarus, as you see. Nobody can have a Tesla. There is no modern new cars here. There's no food on the shelves. We're all suffering. Donald Trump would probably maybe tell you that. Looks like he's in for that sort of thing. But let's keep going on the news. I'm kind of doing double news here, showing you some things in Belarus, and on such a terrible day. It's raining, and on my glasses right now. It was raining yesterday. I was in the forest. So look at some more party areas maybe back here. A little bit more discreet if you want to meet with your girl and not get looked at. So Oh, I don't know. I've never really actually walked here before. I haven't actually hardly come here at all. I've been here. This is my third time. I've been here for 3 years. So not much of a party animal. Okay, let's see. It's just a lot of crap going on in the world. Like I said, but the Iron Dome didn't hold out, and it looks like even Iran is coming up with a new missile. They said this one is it does dipsy doodles and zigzags and curves, and it's I don't know if it's a hypersonic, but it's supposed to be that it's even the American systems, none of them is going to be able to shoot this missile down. And the Houthis missiles, a lot of them get shot down. I don't know if they use special ones sometimes. They might not have enough resources to make very many of these missiles, so maybe they're not shooting many at Israel. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Drones, but their biggest goal is not necessarily killing people, the Yemenites, but it's actually probably to hurt the Israeli economy, because as you see what they're doing to the Palestinians, the Israelis, and apparently getting away with it, of course, under the cover of old Donald Trump in the United States. They are, it's the whole idea is to ethnically cleanse so that Israel can take it over, and the United States. Donald Trump wants it, but he wants to stop the killing. But all these people, a lot of people starving, and they're dying from unknown diseases, probably children drinking sewer water because otherwise there is no water or nothing and no food, and really terrible things you hear about what's going on over there. No water, no food, no medications. All the hospitals are bombed out by Israel, but they're the most moral army in the world, as they tell us. And there's probably a lot more evidence to prove that they're the most immoral army in the world, but you're not supposed to say that. You get defunded and attacked. If you're a student in the university and you don't like what Israel's doing, you get kicked out of the university. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on like that. I'll get into some more of that too in a minute. Maybe I should just stand right here, stay out of the drizzle, find some place what you guys might want to look at. There's some music going on there. I don't know if YouTube is going to come after me if they can hear that. So let's see, blah, blah, blah. The world is on was it Oliver Stone said that there was almost a nuclear war going on between the United States and Russia not too long ago under the Biden time. But there's a lot of things going on as well that are terrible. Seems they're on the brink. There's big problems between India and Pakistan still. It hasn't really let up yet, but everybody's saying within 24 hours it's going to be an attack. They've been saying that for 3 days. It hasn't happened. It's a lot like Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon in 2 weeks. That's happened since the 1980s, and it's been a long 2 weeks from 1984, which is actually the first year I saw that, when Netanyahu was saying Iran is 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. And it's a long 2 weeks, 1984 up to 2025. So, okay, Yemen, U.S., and the United States a lot of people are talking about, that's not working. The United States is bombing them to smithereens 24/7, costing way over $1 billion now. It's $1 billion just in drones. How much is it costing? You got to pay all those servicemen, for these carrier groups. What is it? The USS Harry Truman and the Vincent or something like that. So you have 2 big aircraft carriers, and they have their battleships and all that around them. You got to pay all these soldiers. They're going to be in the service anyway and paid. Well, they can actually be in some other areas bombing some other country or something like the United States likes to do instead of there. But they're using real bombs. They're probably more expensive than doing these exercises with fake bombs. So don't worry, the American taxpayer will pay all that stuff too. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, like I said, she came out and she's talking about that she campaigned against this stuff, and it looks like she's kind of, she didn't mention Trump and nothing, for sure she didn't, but she's not too happy about what's going on. At least she sounds like a humanist person. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm getting quite impressed with her. So, and I guess there's Thomas Massey. I'll get to that. Okay. Oh yeah, because of this hatred that Europe has for Russia, and of course the May 9th, it's like it's like the anti-Christmas of a lot of these Western European governments. They are. It's really, incredible, and it's actually an easy theory to prove. you know, and it's already been put out that the United States mainly has been engaged, and I can't even say that Donald Trump is not engaged in this too. He might just be a little bit more tricksy hobbitses. He might be a little bit more tricky than old Joe Biden, you know, and you think that Donald Trump is up front and he comes and says and all this sort of thing, but whatever Donald Trump is doing, it's actually the same effect as what Joe Biden was doing, you know, against when it comes to Russia. What has he ever done for Russia? He's talking to Russia, which is one step, but he's never done anything for Russia, Donald Trump. He's done just as harmful things against Russia as Joe Biden has. So, but anyway, this May 9th, this parade for the Western people, and I'm not saying Donald Trump, but you know, like Kaya Kallas and Ursula von der Leyen and, you know, Merz, the new leader of Germany, and Starmer and all these prime ministers and all this of Great Britain, all of these ones. It's like the anti-Christmas for them. You know, everybody's happy at Christmas and it's a celebration time. So this is the anti-Christmas for all these people, and it actually just indicates that these people have actually turned to Nazis. They haven't even realized it yet, but when you are against and you know, violently, you know, and really bitterly against people celebrating the defeat of the Nazis, and yet it makes you furious, it kind of tells you something, doesn't it, huh? So why would it bother them that people are celebrating the defeat of the Nazis in Moscow, and these people want to punish anybody that honors that celebrates the defeat of the Nazis? So you're a bad person if you celebrate the defeat of the Nazis. Doesn't really make sense to me. Well, it does make sense, but you know, you guys know this too. It really tells you something. And it goes in line with Vladimir Putin saying that one of the major goals of the military operation, you know, is to denazify Ukraine. But you know, very slowly, and as time goes by, sometimes not quite so slowly, but covertly, Nazism has been spreading, and it's always, you know, a lot of time I didn't really know, but you know, Latvia and Lithuania and these countries and Finland and all these were all supporting the Nazis, and also Sweden, by the way. Sweden was a big supporter of the Nazis, and they only switched in the very last days when they saw that Adolf Hitler was going to lose. But I guess there were these death camps also in Finland, and they were killing tens of thousands of Soviet peoples, or people from Soviet countries there. Lots of them, starvation and everything. Real brutal killing, you know, that the Finnish people, you know, maybe the Finnish people don't even know about that their government was like that. But, you know, I guess very, you know, I don't know. Really crazy. I mean, I'll tell you what, there are more brutal killing of people in other countries than there was actually in Germany. A lot of the stuff that you hear about Germany, there's a lot of fake stuff about that, but it was like really true of the Nazis in other places. Like I've already mentioned Ukraine there, and I guess even from Latvia and Lithuania, they were also really brutal too. You know, some of this stuff is all just coming out now. Belarus and Russia, I think, were holding off on talking about all of these things, and it's all documented stuff about the brutality of not just, you know, the Nazis themselves from Germany, which seemed to have been less brutal, even though they ordered a lot of the brutality, but the ones that actually did and loved doing, spilling the blood and the killing the babies and stuff, were actually the Ukrainian Nazis and the Lithuanian and all that sort of stuff, really. And Finland as well, apparently. I don't know if they were that bad in Finland, but they certainly did kill a lot of people. Okay, so anyway, and Slovakia's leader, and I guess, you know, I said he got sick too, and so did Vučić, and but Vučić, I believe, is recovering, and maybe with Fico it didn't last that long. He said there's nothing going to stop him from going to the May 9th celebration, you know, the defeat of the Nazis from that time. So, and I was seeing how how is he actually going to get there? You know, you cannot take a direct route. It's the same thing when you're flying, say, from Europe. You got to go to Istanbul and you got to go way around. So instead of being like from Istanbul, I don't know, what was it, a 2-hour flight? It's now like 7 hours or something. And Fico, he's going to have to probably go down to Istanbul from Slovakia. He cannot go in one direction because Ukraine is there. He cannot go in the north because they blocked it. He cannot go this way and then go up. He's got to go completely around. He's got to go through Serbia, and then I think, what's the country below that? Oh, see, Serbia. Anyway, but then he's got to go to maybe to Turkey, and then swing around, go all the way then back east to Kazakhstan. So like a 1.5 hour flight is going to turn into maybe 24 hours. It's going to take him like maybe 20 hours to get to Moscow, because none of these countries will allow him to celebrate the defeat of the Nazis. No, they're against him going to Moscow to celebrate the defeat of the Nazis. You know, I guess they're very angry. Why are they very angry of the defeat of the Nazis? Isn't that strange? They hate people celebrating the defeat of the Nazis. Wow. So, anyway, okay, let's see. So in Hungary, Turkey, and you got to go to Kazakhstan. Vucic, he said he's also going to go. I don't know if he's fully recovered yet from that sickness that he got while he was in the United States, you know. And along with that, all I'm going to be talking about, you know, you remember Chavez, he was poisoned. Arafat was poisoned. And something you guys didn't know, but one of the first assassination acts of the CIA was back in, I think it was 1976, and they poisoned. It was poison. Normally they don't do poison. They do a lot of other different things. But it was I was thinking these might be real banana plants, but look at this place. I think this place must be new. I tell you, a lot of partying going on. But it was an African leader, and they poisoned him. So that was like, I believe that is some of the first times they actually started doing assassinations, you know, like with regime change. And there's a lot of assassinations. You know, they got Mossadegh from Iran, and who was the guy from Guatemala, all in the same year. I guess that was 1954. That was some of the best known assassinations by the CIA. And of course, there's a lot more, and they've probably been trying to cover them up a lot more efficiently now. Too much noise here. The guy doing weed eater over there. People, I don't know what they're doing over there. Why are they always renovating stuff in Belarus? Why do they have to maintain everything so nicely and do yard work and stuff? Looks like obviously they're going to have to get here and do some of these weeds too. So, or high grass. Let's go here. Oh, Zelensky, as you all know, he has been threatening to bomb that parade on May 9th. He was saying, "Oh, Russia can't guarantee your safety," and he's made a few comments already. There's a lot of people I've already mentioned as well in the Ukrainian government, and they're very much in support of doing terrorist attacks on May 9th for those people that defeated, you know, their mentors, the Nazis. You know, they're very, it's very strange, you know, and I feel like I'm some kind of a lying conspiracy theorist when I'm telling you that these people are very angry that the Nazis were defeated, apparently, you know, and that maybe at the very least that Russia did it, and they like Donald Trump, of course, he wants to wipe that off of history, and a lot of them do. They don't really like the fact that Russia defeated the Nazis. You know, and I even said in my video yesterday, if you didn't see it, you have to see it. And it's been up, I think now probably for 9 or 10 hours. Like, I guess YouTube didn't really like that video. Inside of that video, I mentioned the quotes, and I quoted Winston Churchill, and I quoted, you know, who was the leader of Great Britain at the time, and I quoted Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was the leader of the United States. And they acknowledged that it was Russia that defeated the Nazis and the Soviet Union, Russia. And Donald Trump, of course, hates that fact as well. He said, no, it was the United States. We did it. Like, I defeated ISIS. Oh, and by the way, also, I heard some actually, they're well-known vloggers, and it was like a big discussion. I think there was like, how many of them? There might have been like 7 or 8 of them online at one time, and there was some joker there trying to, say that, well, a lot of these vloggers, they know what's going on, and they know that it was the United States that was backing ISIS. The United States paid ISIS. The United States created ISIS. And there's one guy trying to say, oh, I was fighting over there, and no, they didn't. Well, does that mean that you know how that all happened? And Jeffrey Sachs, of course, he knows a lot of the politicians. He knows what's going on, and other people too. There, and it's all. I guess it's also, you can find it, I guess, in Wikipedia, and he was mentioning Operation Sycamore, and Hillary Clinton was heavily involved in that. So they were transferring the weapons of Syria over to this group called ISIS. Well, they called ISIS. And I mentioned a lot about ISIS yesterday as well. So I guess you have to watch that video from yesterday along with this one. I'll tell you what, it's George Soros that's making that noise over there. They're against me. They're trying to make my videos bad. So let me just go back. I don't want to sit in the parking lot. I don't think there's any big party areas. Maybe I'll go on a side street up here to show you maybe some more party places or something. A lot of them you have to go inside. Restaurants and all that sort of thing. A dental clinic? I wonder if that's a place maybe I could work there. I mean, if it's got a laboratory, I can work in a party area. But no, I was talking, like I said, like the original definition of ISIS was Israeli Secret Intelligence Services, and the Israelis are known for doing a lot of this stuff. And then they go, back in Israel, they sit amongst themselves and they're laughing at how they're fooling the United States, how we're a bunch of dummies in America and probably in the whole entire West, that they can pull these plots off and do all this stuff on us, and then we go along with it as if we're really stupid dummies. They've done that many times. One of the things is, when they attacked the USS Liberty in 1967, that American ship, that was just surveilling what's going on in the 1967 war, between Egypt and Israel. And they were surveilling. And they went by the ship, and Americans were sitting on the, it's kind of like R&R duty, sunning, laying out in the sun and waving, and the Israelis waved back, with the airplanes when they were flying by. And then all of a sudden they didn't wave back. This is all done in an account. You can find books about this. And they didn't wave back, and then they started bombing them and machine gunning them and all sorts of stuff. And I don't know how many, I think they killed 76 people. And it was even covered up by the United States, and the United States refused to help them. And that was one of the times there was a nuclear bomb on the way to bomb Egypt, because Israel was making it look like it was the Egyptians that were bombing this American ship. And President Johnson was the president at that time. It turns out that he's Jewish, but he was a secret Jewish person and very much in love with Israel. So that was the first time that you had an American president that was fully on the side and did everything for Israel. It was President Johnson, and it's been that way ever since. The Israelis have, I don't know, maybe he let them sneak on in. And as you know, John F. Kennedy, he was out for fairness, and a lot of people say that Israel was involved in that. What happened to John F. Kennedy as well? I don't know, because a lot of these intelligence people, they made a lot of false leads going all over the place, so nobody can really tell what really happened. And Donald Trump was supposed to be releasing a lot of this information, and anyhow, but that's another story. You guys should look up the USS Liberty and find out, how our friends are. Really, well, our friends, our Israeli friends, and Donald Trump, obviously he's completely subservient to Israel. Maybe they figured out this way that they're going to bomb Iran. And Hegseth, I guess he got rid of Hegseth because was it Waltz? No, maybe it was Waltz. Well, anyway, but somebody got kind of demoted and all that because they were found out to have been making these plans with Israel to bomb Iran, that the United States to bomb Iran, and I don't know. There's a lot of big stories. I'm not, I don't have the time to be going on to all of these things. You guys can look a lot of this stuff up on your own. I lays it out so y'all can plays it out. So you guys can look this stuff up in in the wherever to find out this sort of thing. But anyway, Zelensky says that Russia's going to be doing a false flag because I guess he got pointed out in the press. I guess it was kind of a lot of people were looking at that, that Zelensky is hinting at a terrorist attack. And then Zelensky had the gall to come out and say all of these attacks that, you know, he has never, I mean, he's not that he's acknowledged, but he's never said anything. But all of these attacks on Russian civilians, maybe in the Kursk and Belgorod and all these regions, he said those were all false flags. Russia was bombing their own people, you know, and everybody knows that it's not true. But anyway, he's just, they're, you know, but he's a, you know, in a lot of ways, I mean, to me it's not the case, and maybe to most of you, because we already have his number. Donald Trump apparently didn't. Like, Zelensky's so happy that now he got, you know, talking in the Vatican. We saw them sitting out in that one room, that now he won Trump over, and now Trump is, I don't know, maybe Trump was always on his side, but anyway. So, but let's keep going on the news here. Elon Musk, I saw a, I don't know if I told you guys about, you know, there was a, the Israelis, somebody recorded it, these recruiters nabbing a pizza boy, a guy delivering pizzas, a young boy, it looks like maybe 16, 17 years old or something like that, and the recruiters grabbed him, you know, and wrestled him into a van, you know, to send him to the meat grinder to die at the, you know, to die in the front to certain death. You know, they're doing it, and Sirski, of course, is saying that he needs 30,000 new recruits every month, you know, to die in the meat grinder against Russia, you know, as cannon fodder, in other words. So, jeez. And anyway, so they're getting them younger and younger, and women. And like I've said before, I don't know if other people have, but it's definitely positively true that they've been having young. Oh, we lowered the age to, oh, I'm not going to lower the age till 18, get 18-year-olds to go fight in the war. Well, I'll tell you what, they've had 17-year-olds from the very beginning sent to the meat grinder. So, and that's a definite fact. Just like I said at the very beginning, you know, U.S. was involved. I don't know if they're really that much now. They had soldiers over there, and it's on video, lots of videos of American soldiers in Ukraine fighting against the Russians. I mean, they don't have the guns in their hands, but you see that there are American soldiers there. So I don't know, that was in before. Like I said, I'm not sure what's going on now. Well, obviously there are still American soldiers there, because who's firing off these ATACMS? Who's firing off these HIMARS? Oh, it's got to be you know, U.S. soldiers, because that's how it is. The strange thing is that these missiles are hitting Russian civilians. So something the Russians don't really even want to say is that Americans are helping the Ukrainians killing Russian civilians, non-combatants. And that comes very much in line with, there was a video that was just put out. Ray McGovern, former CIA agent, I guess, and Larry Johnson, also former CIA, was on this podcast with Judge Napolitano, who used to be reporting at Fox News. And it was Larry Johnson saying that the United States had this big policy in World War II to kill civilians, to kill German civilians. And he virtually said that the main objective was to kill civilians. They killed more civilians, they killed more German innocent people than they killed German soldiers, the United States. Now, a lot of this, I didn't know this. Larry Johnson's a very credible person to get this information, not to mention the fact that he's CIA, was CIA, a big agent. But anyway, I was going to say that later. It just happened to that worked in right there when I was talking about this stuff. So maybe I can, I'll read it when I get to that, talk a little bit more. But anyway, getting the pizza boy. They got the pizza boy. I ordered a 16-incher. So you're going to go to the front. I didn't get a 16-incher. Okay, there was another video. I might have mentioned this one too. You know, but there's videos. They said there's thousands of these videos of them snapping people up off the streets. But a lot of time now they're going to parties. And like a party, and you get some people that are drunk or whatever, maybe there's some with their girlfriends or single guys, and they're snapping them guys up, and I think they're like handcuffing them and throwing them into vans. And just think you have a little bit like this, and then you wake up the next morning, being trained. Your 1 week training to go. This is a gun. You point it in this direction. This little thing here is called the trigger, and you shoot this when you have your enemy in the sights, and you make sure you don't point the other direction into your eye, or something like that. So anyway, but a lot of this, grabbing these people up, out of the bars and stuff. It reminds me of back in the university. If you read some of this literature, there was one Voltaire. If you have the French writer Voltaire, he wrote a small book, and it's actually a comedy. And he used to be good friends with Frederick the Great, the German king of Prussia at that time. And like Germany was not a country at that time. I think we're talking about the late 1700s. Frederick the Great was also called the philosopher king, and but he got on the outs with Frederick the Great. So he mentioned part in that book. Part of it is that like recruiters going into bars or something like that, and kind of wrestling these guys and sticking them into Frederick the Great's army. And Frederick the Great, of course, was very, very good. He was like, I don't know, maybe that's why they call him the Great. It's similar to Alexander the Great. And he did some amazing things militarily, and he was very much admired by Napoleon. And when Napoleon marched through Prussia on his way to Russia, he had all of his generals come to the grave of Frederick the Great and remove their hats, and they said, "Gentlemen, blah blah blah, if this man were alive today, we wouldn't be here right now," because Frederick the Great was a real master of that sort of thing. And in line with that, I was talking today about myself going to the battlefield where Napoleon was defeated here in Belarus, in Borisov, and I was supposed to be going in a couple days. My wife may not want to go. She'd be put out if I didn't take her. And, we'd have to get there and then take a taxi probably to the area where the battlefield was at. And so that was the first place that Napoleon was defeated. And he was really decimated at that time. But it wasn't the final defeat. The final defeat, as you know, was Waterloo. And but anyhow, and I was going to tie that in also with another visit and go to the house that's also here in Belarus, in a different part of Belarus, of the general who was the one that defeated Napoleon. He was actually from Georgia, but he changed his name to a Russian-sounding name. Or maybe he was Georgian. I don't know if he lived in Russia or whatever. But anyhow, he had his house here in Belarus. So, but anyway, it's in a small town. I love that town. A lot to see in that town, and I'll make a trip there at some point in time. Look at this guy, waiter. Got a plate there. Gonna lose that food. No, actually, he looks like a painter. Who that is, I don't know. Look at this. There's a place also right up here on this terrace party area. So I'll go around a little bit here more. Yes, Candide is the name of that book by Voltaire. It's very small. You guys, I read slow. It might take me a few days. You guys maybe can do it in one evening. Okay, now again, let's jump around a little bit here. The winner of the first round of the election, I don't know when the next one is. I think it's maybe it's May 18th, but the first round of the elections in Romania. This guy's name is George Simeon. As you know, Kalin Georgescu, the European Union made Romania, it's not a tyrannical dictatorship, by unelected officials, the EU. But anyway, the EU made them nullify the election, and they made sure that this guy cannot run again. I can't even remember what the reason was. Some bogus reason anyway. I'm talking about Kalin Georgescu. So anyway, this other guy, George Simeon, he's also kind of right wing, I suppose, but he had like 41% of the vote, and the Nazi, the EU, the guy that likes the Nazi, that likes the EU and hates Russia, I guess he got, I think, around 20 or 21% of the vote. And I think there's a couple other parties. So maybe it's going to be just those two in the second round of the election. You know, the guy that got 20% against the guy that got just about half the vote, 41%. I wonder who's going to, you know, it's not like a given thing that the guy that got 40% is probably going to win. That's not true, because they're going to come up with some shenanigans. You guys can bet on that. Maybe they'll nullify that election too. Do something to make sure that they get the guy that hates Russia. It'd be kind of amazing if they don't get the hate Russia guy to win the election. What this is probably, is this a, I don't know, maybe there's a little party place down there. There is a place here, I know. You go down some stairs and it's another party place. Lots of little party places throughout this area here. So just that the prices are pretty much high everywhere. Anyway, let's see here. So well, we're gonna have to see what's gonna happen on that one. Let's see. GOP Congress members, there's a bill. Believe it or not, they're trying to put a bill through, and it was opposed by Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia. Remember Georgia? That's the same place that Cynthia McKinney comes from. Maybe there's some, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like a Palestine in Georgia, because Israel took her down and took her out, Cynthia McKinney, and she also had that terrible crime of trying to deliver coloring books and crayons to Palestine. So they threw her very roughly in jail when she was doing that, trying to block a flotilla. And yeah. Anyway, I told you guys yesterday about this ship, and I think Israel sunk it. I think 16 or 17 people were saved. Believe it or not, Greta Thunberg was supposed to be on that boat, and she somehow didn't, went on a different one. But anyway, that's just some interesting things. It's not really mentioned so much in the press about that, you know, that Israel sunk that boat and all that. So those guys, their crime is delivering food. I mean, because the Palestinians are not, they're supposed to only get a certain amount of calories a day, according to Israel. And they're probably not even going to get that. Terrible what they're doing. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong place. Anyhow, this bill that they're trying to push through, and this, believe it or not, it's the Republicans in the U.S. Congress. They're trying to push a bill through that anybody who boycotts Israel will face penalties up to $1 million fine and 20 years in prison for boycotting Israel. So in other words, if it sounds like, oh, you go into a supermarket and you say, oh, I'm not going to buy that whatever, dragon fruit, if you guys know what that is. I think they grow that. And well, say avocado. I'm not going to get that avocado from Israel. I'm going to buy this one from Costa Rica. Ha! Now you're going to prison for 20 years. You know, I don't think it's like that. I think probably what it is retailers. If somebody is buying, you know, for their supermarket, say avocados, and you don't buy the Israeli ones, maybe they're going to go after them, and they're going to maybe try to put them in front of court and say that you didn't buy them because you don't like Israel. Then you go to prison and pay a $100,000 fine. I don't know, but it looks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. I don't know, where is Thomas Massey, congressman from somewhere, but I guess they defeated that bill, so it's not going to get through. You know, wow, incredible! Look at the stuff. So it's incredible. Like Israel says that they own 30. They have 30 senators, and each state only gets 2. But they have 30. In other words, they pay them off. They said it's cheaper to buy a politician than it is to buy a tank. So, but there's no corruption there. I mean, we all love Israel, you know. And like I said, I very, very, very highly believe that it was Israel that put Donald Trump where he's at. Because if the establishment is against Donald Trump, you know, it's very, very thin chance that you can possibly become president unless you have some kind of a powerful backing. And Israel is not actually part of that establishment. They are linked to it, but they're not exactly part of it. So obviously, I think Israel is the one that put Donald Trump there, and Donald Trump is perfectly willing to do the bidding of Israel. He's basically, like I said, I was wondering, because you looked like Netanyahu, when you saw that conference when Netanyahu came to Washington, and I think I was seeing that. Did I see Netanyahu, on his knees in front of the, by the podium where Donald Trump and going like a circus seal? But I think, I don't know, maybe Donald Trump, he was doing the same thing to Netanyahu. So they're doing they're doing the circus seal on each other at the podiums, while they're speaking. Oh, baby. Oh gosh, music. I probably got to get away from here. Look at, I think I've actually maybe even had a beer in a couple places. I think maybe up in this one. But like I said, things are expensive. Get something to eat or whatever, and that's also not so cheap. The gold diggers, those damn gold diggers, getting all that big money from all the Arabs and stuff, driving the prices up here. Jeez. I wonder if I can have sex with some of these Arabs. And maybe I can afford to eat in some of these restaurants here. Just kidding. We've all gone. No, I don't want to do that. That reminds me of that joke from Rob Schneider said, "Come on, we've all sucked a little, when we were, get beer." But anyway, so let's see. So, oh yeah, this boycott was supposed to be even for people that boycott things from the settlements, from the illegal settlements that are. Yeah, but the whole place was an illegal settlement at one point in time when they took it over. Okay. At the same time, Trump his tariffs. Okay, let's see. Oh, another thing. Donald Trump is now he's put tariffs on movies. So if there's a movie that's made in some other country, he's putting tariffs on that, a 100% tariffs, which I don't know if he can do that if they're coming over the internet, if they're streaming. You can send movies electronically, as far as I am concerned, or maybe, I don't know, you get some high quality stuff, putting it on some sort of discs and things like that, and it's very small. You don't have to get these big old real things. But so I guess, who knows, this is going to probably start something different. So now all movies are going to be made on small media components, discs and things like that, and smuggled in, whatever. I worked in a prison, for some period of time, and they used to smuggle things in, up the poop chute, So that's where maybe put it on a, what is it called, those flash drive, and they're plastic, so the metal detector can't get them. So you, what was that thing from Frank Zappa? Ram it up your poop chute, ram it. I don't know. Jeez, I don't want to talk about gross things on this thing. There's children watching this show. So anyway, so I was thinking, locking people up for not buying things made in Israel or the settlements. I was thinking, you think of who knows, maybe Saturday Night Live will do some kind of a deal where they're going around in Walmart and people buying the wrong avocados or something like that and putting handcuffs on them. This is the kind of also a big touristy area here. So, and there is the not Protestant, that is the Orthodox Church over there. I think this was a town hall at one time in Minsk. Maybe it still is, but of course there's no government or anything meeting there. I don't know what it is anymore. Okay, a lot of time in the summertime when things get warm here, they have a stage set up, and they're doing like little plays and concerts, lots of music and things like that right here in this area. So okay, let's see. Sweden. They are threatening to revoke. It's more of this stuff about May 9th. So if people celebrate May 9th in Sweden and you're a foreigner, they're saying they're going to deport you. So it lets you know. And I said that Sweden was at one point, most all of the war they supported old Adolf Hitler and all that, and just at the very last minute they switched over when they saw that Adolf was going to lose, and the Nazis. So it's pretty interesting that they're just you just can't believe how Nazi-ish these people, they don't even hide it. It's like saying, we're Nazis, how dare you celebrate the defeat of our ideology of Nazism, of our superiority. We are the master race. We are the Nazis. God's chosen people. What did Obama say? Obama said, the exceptional people. Really weird. Russia doesn't ever have any, they don't have any expressions to say that they're better than anybody else. So, and you start seeing this. I'll tell you what, I'm reading this book, and it's written in the 90s, and it talks even about, how Russia developed in a different way, and they don't have this exceptionalism, God's chosen people, or the master race sort of a theory. Then Russia is very, what they're actually talking about, what they mentioned in this thing, was the Eastern Slavs. And I don't know if he was even referring to Ukraine at that time, because it isn't really the case. I don't think he was mentioning Ukraine necessarily, but it was Kievan, Russia. That was like the first capital of Russia was Kiev, and he calls them the Kievan Russians because, I don't know if Ukraine is trying to say that they're not Russian or whatever. And it also mentions of how they are all, genetically intermingled. The Eastern Slavs and all that. It even says in this book that the Hungarians, originally from earlier times, they went from Russia and settled in Hungary. So a lot of those people there's a lot of Russian blood in Hungary as well. And this is going to come in line with something what I said, and I'll get to that too, what Tulsi Gabbard was talking about, where I have to be very, very, very careful because YouTube will delete me if I say it wrong, because they've already done it on many occasions. Even though Tulsi Gabbard has said it, it's even written on the United States. Where did she say? I think it's on the U.S. Embassy website. It's about I'll even mention it right now, the bio labs that the United States paid for in Ukraine. She said it's official, because she's reading a lot of this stuff already. It's in American records, not only, and she said it's even on the website. You can see it still this very day, she said. So anyway, let's keep going. But I hope I didn't already say too much. YouTube doesn't like that. They don't like my videos. That's why it probably takes 12 hours to upload them. Anyway, so keep going. So if you celebrate that day, you'll get kicked out of Sweden. Celebrate the defeat of the Nazis. How evil you are! How dare you celebrate the defeat of people that think they're racially superior to others? Okay, William Crystal. He's one of the biggest neocons. There's and I wrote him down because I knew I would forget it. William Crystal and I didn't write it down. Maybe Wolfowitz, William Crystal, Kagan. These are some of those big neocons that engineered the start of the Iraq War, and he's Jewish. These guys are Jewish, and they hate Christians. They're Zionist Jewish. And get this. So he was, I think, saying to, not Elon Musk, to J.D. Vance, he said, how does it sit with you that Trump has these memes of him being the Pope and all that? He said something like it's insulting. I don't know if I wrote down the words or nothing here. I just was writing down what it was actually going on. But you remember Vance, he was actually a Marine, and he was in Iraq. So he did duty in Iraq at that time. And William Crystal was one of the ones that engineered this war in Iraq. And I think 17,000 U.S. soldiers died. And of course, well over 1 million Iraqis died. But they're just brown people. That doesn't matter. So anyway, but this William Crystal was one of the ones. And he was, going to Vance and saying, how do you think of that? It's insulting, because I'm allowed to hate Christians and make fun of them and kill Jesus if he ever comes back here again. But the Pope, it's very insulting that Donald Trump, had these memes about him being the Pope. And Vance came back at him and he said, let's see if I find it. He said he's okay. He's okay with people joking around. He said, but I'm not okay with people that start senseless wars to kill thousands of his countrymen. Ooh. A lot of things I like about Vance, sometimes he comes up with the truth and stuff, and it comes out, he's not afraid. He comes up with the brutal truth and shoves it right into people's faces, like William Crystal getting all those Americans killed for a senseless war, for I don't even know what reason anymore, But, if you remember the PNAC, Project for a New American Century, and that was written by these people. That was written by Crystal as well. And Project for a New American Century, there's a section in that called Rebuilding America's Defenses. And that section, what that says is the United States needs to get a foothold in a Middle Eastern country, because they were saying, this whole world, the economic situation is based on the oil trade. Donald Trump even says that. So we have to get an economic foothold. It's written in that, but I think that it's taken down the website. But you can still find copies of it, I'm sure. So on the Project for a New American Century. But I guess you have to go specifically to Rebuilding America's Defenses. And what it envisions, mostly Wolfowitz, who they made, by the way, after that, even the president of the World Bank. But he got kicked out of that because he put his girlfriend in a high position. But let me keep going. They said that we have to get a foothold in an oil-rich country, and then from there spread out and control and attack, basically militarily, or control all of the other oil-rich countries, and thereby we will attack, or we will control the world's oil supplies and all that. But in order to get that going, it says in this document, is we need an attack on America. What am I saying here? American people saying that we need an attack on America on the scale of Pearl Harbor to kick this thing off. It's written in there, believe it or not. That is written in there. They are advocating an attack on America on the scale of Pearl Harbor in order to kick off this domination, to be the masters of the universe, of controlling the world and the oil. And anyway, that's what happened. Everybody pretty much knows the 9/11 attack was that attack. But no, that was some terrorist that just kind of, I think he was already, I don't know, was Osama bin Laden already dead by that time, in real truth or not? Or, they kept this boogeyman up there, oh, Osama bin Laden, oh no, oh, Osama bin Laden. Anyway, you guys all know the whole deal there, and there's a lot of shady stuff that's not really, who knows what the real truth is all the time anyway. But anyway, so I guess J.D. Vance was kind of saying, some dirty piece of crap like you, look at what you did, and you kill a lot of Americans for a senseless war to try to dominate the universe. And of course Wesley Clark put out, you guys already know about that the United States was planning on invading all these different countries, I think 7 countries, starting with this, and I think ending with Iraq. And it's very strange that they pretty much ended up doing it that way. Yeah, so let's see, Crystal Kagan and all this, and Bush, I don't know, very, 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 very shady stuff. You guys all know that. Oh, was it 7,000 Americans? 17,000, I thought. Millions of other people. Bill Clinton involved in that. Okay. And a lot of the things I've been saying in a lot of my videos, and it's like I said, it's kind of like feeling like I'm bragging, I sort of have a very good feeling on what these politicians are doing, and I met a lot of them, like I said, in the old days when I used to be on the Secretary of the General Staff for the Commanding General in Europe, and all that. And even if I said, oh yeah, I did eat, I sat next to Ronald Reagan eating dinner, even though it's nothing like I'm going to talk politics with him. He's just telling jokes the whole time anyway. But I did talk some politics with some other politicians. I had to sign a document that said I will never talk about things that I experienced while I was there, but anyway, the things I say, a lot of other people, hey, there's more things told by Larry Johnson and all this. So I don't think the United States is going to send a hitman over here to get me. But Maria Zakharova, she came out and she was saying the goal, and I said pretty much the same thing, the goal of the Kiev regime is not to achieve peace, but it is to enrich itself and spread neo-Nazism. Of course, I've said that. It's the ideology. I say it, that, oh, they want, the ideology, the survival of the ideology is most important. And then I was thinking that was more important than the wealth, but I'm thinking now the more important, obviously, for Zelensky is that he gets billions and billions of dollars, and to keep that money flowing and never stopping, the billions and billions to come in. And of course, all sorts of people in Ukraine, of course, it's like the most corrupt country ever, and they shave off a lot of the money for themselves. They get their percentage, like old Joe Biden, when it was proven, and it was proven with his emails, from what's his name, from Hunter Biden, 10% for the big guy. So Joe Biden was getting 10% of all of the deals and the things with China and all of, Burisma and Ukraine, and the money flowing into Ukraine in those days when Joe Biden was the vice president. So 10% for the big guy. I don't know what Zelensky gets, what his percentage is. Maybe it varies at different times, and who gets what percentages of of this place. Look at Gold Digger going to work here, I guess, here. Say hi to the sheik for me. Okay. Anyway, it's actually more than that, though. There is a big plan, I guess, from the Ukrainians, and part of that is Eratz Ukraina, to spread and to get a lot of these different lands, and they come up with fantasy histories and stuff. That was Ukrainian peoples that did this, and Egypt, who knows? They're probably going to go to Egypt because they say they built the pyramids, so maybe the eventual goal is to control Egypt as well. You never know. Okay, but what she didn't say, and it's also a major goal, is to kill Russians, obviously. They've even said that, and if you see the long-term goal, what has actually been coming about here is, by the West, the United States. I don't know if Donald Trump is part of this. Sometimes you wonder if he's a really sneaky guy, and he actually is, playing like he isn't. But obviously, from a lot of these people in the past, European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, Joe Biden, all these, and even much before that, we can go back maybe even 20 or 50 years. It's using Ukraine, and they're creating, and this has even been said, not by me, but by other people, that they're creating an anti-Russia. And the whole purpose of Ukraine is to get these people, and you get some people like Zelensky, who is more than happy to sacrifice and get his own people slaughtered in the tens and thousands, hundreds of thousands, by the way, to slaughter his own people in the hundreds of thousands, to serve the ideology of killing Russians. And I tell you what, I don't know. Can you find any evidence to prove me wrong on that? I don't think you can. Okay. Eratz Ukraini. And I've been always showing you how there's a similarity between Ukraine and Israel, and the ideologies and the modus operandis and the desire to gain more territory here and there. And Ukraine already got so much territory given to them by the leaders of the Soviet Union, which were all, by the way, very much pro-Ukraine. And I talked about how they said, oh, they hated us, oh, they did this, oh, the Holodomor. And of course, all the time, they're doing everything for Ukraine. And Ukraine was the spoiled stepchild of the Soviet Union. They got everything they wanted. They became the biggest region in all of the... Anyway, I've talked about that stuff in other videos. So, like I said, this is the part now I'm talking about, like Larry Johnson and all that. Ray McGovern, Larry Johnson, and yeah, they said, and I even mentioned it yesterday, and I got the number more accurate. Larry Johnson was saying that it's known that the Russians killed over 80% of the Germans and Americans, and the rest did very little. And actually, that number is 85%. And so the vast majority, by far, not 85% of the defeat of the Nazis was done by the Russians, and very little of it was done by the United States and Britain and all that, and they did practically nothing at all. And it was actually the Russians that did it. And then Donald Trump says, we're the ones that get, Donald Trump. I got ISIS when the United States, like I said, there was this podcast, and they're talking on this podcast. Maybe I stopped and I didn't say it actually right. I didn't finish that. But all these people were knowing that ISIS is a proxy army of the United States. And I was mentioning Operation Sycamore was Obama and Hillary Clinton trying to get all those weapons to ISIS to go against the Syrian army, and then eventually the Russians came in as well, because a lot of this was to get this gas and oil pipelines to go from the Golan Heights through Syria, and that would sideline Russia's oil and gas going into Europe. So then, like they would maybe not even need it anymore. And so, but anyway, they took the jump. They destroyed this the gas pipelines, maybe thinking that by this time they would already have these pipelines already finished. Maybe there's going by a schedule to get all of this gas and the oil already getting pumped into Europe through Turkey. That's why Turkey was on the side of them for a long time. And I don't know, Erdogan talked to Putin. You never know what side Erdogan is on anyway. Like they say, he's a loose cannon. Even the people from Turkey, we had a lot of, there's a lot of Turkish people here, learning Russian. And they speak some Russian anyway, because there's a lot of Russians in Turkey. But they say that, they even say Erdogan is a loose cannon and nobody knows what this guy's doing. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason for the stuff that he does. So anyhow, let's get to some other stuff here. I got to try to end this video. Tulsi Gabbard, I said she came out, and I got to be very careful about this. And she said that it's very much confirmed about these laboratories. And I think if you mention the word, I'm not, YouTube, get this, I'm not saying this. This is Tulsi Gabbard. But don't say the word weapons when you say the words biolaboratory, because then you can get in some big trouble. And I mentioned also in some videos quite some time ago that there was at one point in time, it looks like it was an experiment, and it was 48 Ukrainians, and I believe it was 48 Ukrainian soldiers, and what they did and what is going on, and this has been well known. It's been actually even recognized by Vladimir Putin and by Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia. This was mentioned years ago. They're wondering, why is the United States Air Force going around and taking blood samples of Russians, from different ethnic Russians? What is this all about? And this has been mentioned quite a few times. As a matter of fact, it was even mentioned by the guy, Kirill, who the Ukrainians assassinated 2 months ago, and he knew all about this sort of thing. He mentioned it too. He was going to work in the United States, Ukraine. They blew up his car. As a matter of fact, they even filmed it. They even filmed him going to his car, and they blew him up and killed him. That was the first big general that the Ukrainians actually assassinated. But he was in on knowing all about all this information. But they were taking these blood samples, and maybe they even still are, the United States, taking, it was the Air Force, that's an Air Force project. As you notice, the COVID project, that was actually starting out as an Army project. But this one, this bio project, it's done through the Air Force. So the Air Force was taking blood samples from a lot of ethnic Russians all over. And look this stuff up. A lot of you guys probably think that this stuff sounds too far-fetched for anybody to believe. But just look this all up on your own. And so, anyway, they taken these blood samples, and what was going on is they're trying to, and I hope I can say this. I don't know if I'll be deleted from maybe. Is there another way I can say this to you guys without worrying about it? But anyhow, you've heard of genetic weapons, right? Something, and there's been other countries, not just this stuff going on in Ukraine, but there's weapons, and they're trying to develop these that target a specific ethnicities. You could even call them Nazi weapons if you really want, because that's exactly what they are. So you can actually introduce a virus somewhere, and certain people that have certain genes, they will be affected and probably even die, but the other people won't be affected. So if your ethnicity is from some, you guys get the point of what I'm trying to say is. And anyway, the Ukrainians, they took like 48, I believe it was soldiers, and their own people, by the way. So it shows how much they love their people. Like sending them to the meat grinder is one thing, to die in the hundreds of thousands, but also to do some kind of experiments on them. But anyway, out of these 48 people, and they infected them with something, and only one of them lived. And I don't know what their genetic makeup is, but if you start looking at history, you see that there's a lot of intertwined genetics between, and of course these are the Eastern Slavs, and they've lots of things going up, so I don't know if they're going to ever be successful of getting to what they want. I guess they're not going to give up, and they still have labs in Ukraine, but a lot of these labs, they've moved to other places, and the majority of them moved to Africa. I've already put that out before, so anyhow, that's about all I have to say for right now. And a lot of this stuff, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I do have some. What else would I was going to say? Oh, a little bit about the geoengineering. I guess Gates and Soros and a lot of these people that are involved in this. And I was already talking about the toxicity of a lot of these chemicals that they want to use. Like one is aluminum oxide and other things, and they want to spray it in there. But I guess one of the main aims, what actually recently came out, is one of the main reasons why they want to do this geoengineering is to change agricultural patterns. And then, didn't Bill Gates, isn't he the largest farmland owner in America? He's buying farmlands in various places, all in other places of the world. But anyway, so spraying a lot of these chemicals in there, it's not just like what Bill Gates says, I want to reflect the sun's rays back up into this other, to stop global warming, this fake bunch of crap, man-made global warming, CO2 and all of these fantasies and this fake crap that they're coming up with. We have to get rid of CO2, the that carbon, which is the basis of life on planet Earth. We have to get rid of it. But get rid of the molecule that is the basis of life on planet Earth to save lives? Doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's Bill Gates' logic. Well, what he thinks that you guys are going to... It's really funny, a lot of these people. They're coming up with all of this crap, and they think they're fooling everybody, and probably laughing their heads off, saying, well, we're coming out and saying we're going to get rid of the one molecule that is most responsible for life on planet Earth, and we're saying that we're going to use it to save life. These stupid, dumb idiots. Anyway, so, there's a lot of them around. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Anyway, but what it's supposed to be doing is they're going to try to use this stuff in such a way as they can influence agriculture in different parts of the world. So some places will be more productive, and some places will have disastrous effects on their agriculture. So, like, in other words, the global South will produce even far less food, and they will be beholden to, say, the United States, which will, have a lot more success in agriculture because they're going to be using these chemicals to change the weather patterns of things. So, interesting information. A lot of this stuff, you're never going to hear this anywhere. So, it's really strange. YouTube will never promote my videos. They'll make sure that most people never hear this stuff. And anyway, it's just fascinating stuff. You guys, I'll tell you what, I don't mind if people don't believe it or anything. I'm finding this in news, and a lot of this stuff is plausible. A lot of this stuff I can verify myself. When you learn things like, I took atmospheric sciences in the university as well, and you learn things like that, genetics and all that stuff. I love sciences, even though I majored in history. But I love sciences. I love biology, and I did farming. I was very successful in farming in an area where people grew up farming, and I outdid most of them. And certain things, you find some certain likes to things. I'm terrible, and I think I'm terrible in Russian. I'm not terrible. I'm just not good. So, and I don't really have much. I speak English all day long. Okay, Houthi. Now that they've shot down, I think 22 of these $30 million drones. The United States is expanding the sophisticated drone things. You can make these cheap drones that are like $2,000, but they're going for these great big huge drones, that cost $30 million, and I guess they're going to make 10,000 new super drones, I guess. And Elon Musk, of course, is saying that you have to go into more drone warfare, and was this Keane, I think this General Keane, I think that was the guy that said this, that land warfare has evolved into drone warfare. And there's even probably a chance, believe it or not, that you might start to see tanks, that tanks might become obsolete at some point in time. I'm not predicting, I'm just saying it's possible. So, Okay, that's about it. And it's the end of this video. And I'm in, like I said, a kind of a touristy type area. I've been here before, and I hope you guys enjoyed the information. I knew this would be a big knuller. It's probably going to take 12 hours to upload this video. Whoever and for whatever reason is responsible for that, I don't know. But anyway, I enjoy doing these videos, and too bad I don't get paid for it. So I guess that means I don't have any vested interest in this, not even in myself. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you hit that like. There's not enough people hitting like buttons. I don't know, maybe they think I'm putting up fake information. Well, anyway, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.